Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. Always a pleasure to have you here with us. I'm Eoin Devereux, news and sports reporter with the Banner Press, joined this week by Casper Wehrhahn. Casper, good to have you in again.
Good to be here once again, and I have to say I'm still recovering from helping build the big paper that we have this week, Eoin.
It's surprising. Again, for those of you that may be unfamiliar, one of our other reporters, Kira Patterson, is away on vacation. One more week to go for her. I mean, hopefully she's enjoying her time out in Europe. But the last three papers, the last 3 weeks have been pretty much, you're looking at them. We're the ones that have put it together. Diane Warner, though, did all the classifieds and all the ads, as she does each and every week. And even the guy with the hat, Ken Waddell, chipped in with not just one story, not just an editorial, but he's got like 4 stories in this week's paper as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's really been getting out there this past week, and I think he's got a couple more stories on the go potentially, if I remember correctly. So he's a busy guy.
That's right. He's trying to show us how it's done. It's like, all right, Ken, have at her. But we did talk about that a little off the air, just how jam-packed this week's edition is. 24 pages, just one section, but 24 pages, and about a dozen in-house stories for reporters, not excluding our weekly contributors that are always each and every week, excluding our looking back as well. Actual new developing stories, about a dozen of them. And there's some really wide range of interesting things we had an opportunity to cover, and we're very pleased to be able to share with you this week. The very first one, obviously, is the front page. Very happy that I was able to go down to Carberry this past weekend and watch as they celebrated the grand official opening of their new fire hall. The fire hall has been in operation for a period of time, but this is the first time they've been able to have any type of formal ceremony, the ribbon cutting, the whole 9 yards. It was nice to see a group of people from Carberry that came out. They were part of the celebration, part of the festivities, representation from the town of Carberry, from the RM as well. We're out there with North Cyprus Langford, because this is, for them, this is a regional facility, and a much needed regional facility. If you haven't been out to Carberry in a while, it's built essentially right next to the old fire hall, Casper. And I gotta say, it's been a while since I've been out there, and I was surprised. It's at least double the size of the old fire hall. I don't know how they worked in that sardine can they used to have.
Yeah, I know that old one is quite small, and I remember sort of reading up on this when it was first announced that they were going to be working on a new fire hall, and them saying how much they would need or like appreciate some much needed extended space, and seeing this new building compared to that is just mind-blowing. Like, I don't know how they managed that, but they did, and it certainly comes with some much needed upgrades as well, like the tower there, for example. Like, the outward appearance of the building is very simple, very nice, but it's really doing the job for them already, and that's incredible.
That's right. 4,900 square feet is what the size of this new building is. And the really fascinating thing, I was talking to representation from the town and from the RM on this because I was a little unaware of the history behind it. And it was $680,000 to build this new building. Oh my God. They really did get some bang for their buck off of this. It's not the fanciest of fire halls, but they didn't need the fanciest of fire halls. They needed something that worked for them, which this does, and they needed something that was going to have the ability to grow with the growing community. It has the ability to expand. It has the ability to grow if need be for years to come. And they're really proud of what they were able to do, because it wasn't just the government cutting a check. It wasn't just that. It was the municipality. It was the town. It was local businesses as well. And this was the big thing as well. I was very glad to hear. Local citizens stepped up and did volunteering in some way or another, did fundraising in one way or another. It may have not been the biggest portion of it, but you like to see that when a community sees a need, understands the significance of it and steps up, even if it's $1,000, even if it's only $5,000 or $10,000 towards that. Every penny counts. And to see that type of support and to see it again at the ribbon cutting, which occurred this past weekend, fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, everyone really just banded together for this. Like, I don't know what else there is to say on that. They just, they got it done.
Yep. And if you wanted to learn a little bit more, because we're barely even scratching the surface on the story of Carberry's new fire hall, you can find it on the pages of this week's edition of the Banner and Press. It's right on page 1, continues on to page 10, a few more pictures in there. Very excited to be able to share that story because, as I've said many a time, even though we are called the Neepawa Banner and Press, we like to think of ourselves as a bit of a regional paper. We want to be able to reach out to other communities, such as Gladstone, Carberry, Minnedosa, so on and so forth. If you have stories in those communities, we want to be able to share them as well. And we're very proud to be able to do that this week with this one. We're also proud to be able to share one a little closer to home. Casper, you did the roundup on this one about a fundraising event, very significant, going on at Neepawa Middle School.
Yeah, I was very pleased to hear about this story. I believe Miles Cathcart had initially contacted Ken, I think, and then I got in contact with him and Darren Rowe. But the Neepawa Middle School grade 7 students in the social studies classes are banding together with the Neepawa Co-op to put on a humanitarian fundraiser for Ukraine, and that is going to be on May 20th. They're planning a barbecue with some entertainment at the Neepawa Co-op food store, and they're working really hard there. They're doing a whole bunch of planning. The students are in collaboration with the co-op. They're making posters, they're working on social media stuff, advertising, really just putting all their effort in leading up to the event, and they're going to be working at the event as well alongside the co-op employees too.
That is really nice to see, especially that type of engagement at that type of age. I got to admit, when I was a youngster, when I was in middle school, I didn't care about much of anything. I didn't see anything much beyond my own little world. And that's not the right way to go about it. But you're a youngster, I was a youngster growing up in the 80s. I didn't know much of anything. I didn't know any better. Well, probably still don't. But to see them engage in this way and see beyond their own borders and want to help in some way, shape, or form, that shows that their parents, their teachers, their mentors are doing something right because they're instilling that mindset into them. And that's a positive thing for the next generation.
It really is, and that's very much something that Darren commented on when I talked to him as well. It's been said before, and it's very much true, and it's going to remain true for years to come. But what's going on in Ukraine right now in regards to Russia attacking it is a very unfortunate event to have happening in the world and to be living through for the people of Ukraine, and just dealing with all the things that come with that. So for students as far away as Canada is banding together and working together for something like this with the community, because Co-op is actually working on reaching out to different organizations in the community as well to get additional support for this event as much as they can, to really make this work and get those funds to where they need to be for whether it be medical supplies or clothing or what have you, is just incredible.
That's right. It's on page 2 of this week's edition of the Banner and Press. Now, this is going to be a story, an ongoing story that we will be covering, because when the day itself comes, we're going to be down there with the cameras. We're going to be down there learning a little bit more and sharing some of that information. Hopefully, we'll be able to see you down there as well, supporting the cause as you can. We got so many things to cover. It's going to be almost a bullet point sort of episode this week, shotgun scattershot type thing, to try and just give you a taste of all the interesting things that are on the go right now. This one's not interesting, let's be honest, but it's necessary and it's informative and it's required. It's an annual general meeting, It's not the most interesting thing in the world, but it is informative. Ken Waddell, this is one of his. So he went down to the Heritage Co-op annual general meeting down in Minnedosa, and he learned a little bit about how their co-op is growing. We had a similar story for our own Neepawa Gladstone Co-op a few weeks ago in the Banner Press. And I got to admit, Casper, as well, sometimes you get insulated. You start thinking that you're the big fish in the big pond type thing. But when I looked at the numbers for Heritage, I am shocked. They are incredibly large. 27,000 active members in the co-op, and their growth year over year up 13%, now up to $230 million a year. It's like, holy cow. I completely sort of undersold how big and how significant Heritage actually is.
Yeah, I mean, you really just sort of think about Minnedosa, and I mean, kind of the same with Neepawa too. I'm just sort of used to being here and like, oh yeah, this is my small like hometown, blah blah, and it's actually much bigger than it is, and the same is very much true with Minnedosa, and of course it serves a wider area than just Minnedosa too, so it really covers quite a bit, and the growth is very, very significant. I don't recall how it sort of compares to the Neepawa Gladstone Co-op portion, but both have just been seeming to do really well in the past few years, and that's always great to see.
Oh, it actually dwarfs, and again, I hate to say it, but I always thought they were pretty much on par, but no, Heritage completely engulfs. And a big part of it is, again, I keep forgetting this, Brandon is a part of the Heritage Co-op family,
Right.
along with Rivers, Strathclair, Erickson. Like, it is such a large area that it covers, and it does it very well. And speaking of doing coverage very well, Ken Waddell got his reporter hat on, and he did a very good job of analyzing and going through some of the details. There's so much more information, not just about the numbers, but about what they want to do long term. And they got some very interesting plans. You can find that on the Rural Outlook page, page 7, along with your story about a new scam coming along in regards to cell phone providers. This shows you exactly how jam-packed we are. We didn't even actually have time to put this on our list. So when you're checking out the AGM, just skim over slightly to the right there and check out Casper's story. Very informative. It's every couple months, it seems like some new scam comes about, and a person I know who works for one of the local stores. I'm not going to say who and all that, because just to be safe,
Yeah.
you don't want anybody to sort of. But they tell me on a regular basis that they have people coming in saying, I need to buy all these gift cards. I need to buy these for my grandson, or I need to buy these to pay off this, or I need to pay off this government agency. No. Just if they're asking you for gift cards, first and foremost, in any way, shape, or form, that's an immediate scam. Now, this one as well that you brought up, Casper, slightly different. They're taking a slightly different angle there, but it's still somewhat structured similar. If you want to learn a little bit more, you can find that story in this week's paper. Now, pick up a physical copy anywhere in Neepawa and surrounding regions, or you can find it at mywestman.ca. All right, let's go on to something else in regards to business. Again, this one's not the most interesting, but it is very unexpected. Unexpected, I think, and will have a significant impact for Neepawa and the surrounding area. A German company has officially purchased North Star Seeds. North Star Seeds, an institution in and around Neepawa for so many years, since the 80s, really. And now they've been purchased outright by a German company called Deutsche Schattverteidigungsvereinigung AG. I may not have hit that on there. I got the Deutsche part right. Schattverteidigungsvereinigung AG. Fortunately, they have abbreviations, and those abbreviations are just DSV. So we're going to continue on just calling them DSV during the rest of this. The purchase is being finalized right now. The numbers for this purchase have not been made public. Now, you may be curious, though. What does this mean for North Star? Fortunately, we had an opportunity to speak with representation from North Star, and they assured us that it's going to have no major change. If anything, it could cause an expansion, a creation of new jobs, new opportunities in and around our area, which is, you like to be able to hear that. DSV has worked with North Star for many decades, actually. They've been a purchaser of a seed from North Star for a long period of time. They're expanding. They're big in Europe, not just in Germany, but in several European countries. And they're looking to expand as well. They've got some stakes in South America, and now they're looking to broaden into North America. And this is their first step in towards broadening into the North American market. It could be very interesting, and it would be great to be able to see Neepawa and surrounding area in on the ground floor on that.
I'm certainly intrigued. Yeah, I'm sure with outside companies from different countries purchasing companies in Canada, there's like a lot of apprehension that tends to be around that. But with the long-standing relationships that DSV has had with North Star, hopefully that sort of lessens those apprehensions. But still, I'm very intrigued to see how this will change things for North Star now that it has been purchased by this German company.
That's right. Now that's essentially the business section of our paper for this week. Let's lighten the mood a little bit with a little more entertainment-oriented stories that we had an opportunity to cover. And this is one written up by Ken Waddell, a few pictures by Ken Waddell, and a few pictures as well from yourself, Casper. You had an opportunity to go down and see this new art show at Arts Forward.
I did. It was a very intriguing show. It was by 3 different artists, all from the same family, 3 different generations, Mary Venables and Jody Baker, as well as Kennedy Baker, so mother and daughter and then other daughter. And they all work in sort of different mediums. Mary herself does a lot of painting on canvas, and Jody does a lot of photography. We've featured it in the paper a few times before, actually. And Kennedy does a lot of multimedia stuff. So it's a very interesting combination, Eoin. Kennedy has done stuff with like broken hockey sticks, for example, just because, well, it's a shame to waste all of that material. So she had it brought over to her and had been thinking of things that she could do with it, and ended up making some really cool pieces. And she's done painting on like shoes, custom shoes, and some interesting sculptures as well, one of which I do have a picture of featured in the paper. But very excellent work, and just a very diverse sort of collection of colors and like techniques to take a look at.
That's right. We've covered Jody Baker in previous editions of the Neepawa Banner Press, used some of her artwork in previous editions. Very thankful to her for allowing us to do that. So we are very thankful again to be able to share not just her work and her vision, but her family's vision. And it, again, 3 generations down at Arts Forward, and will be down at Arts Forward for several weeks now for the month of May. So if you want to go down there and you check it out, this is your opportunity. The weather's gotten a little bit nicer. It's a little more pleasant out. It's a little easier to get out the house, get out the door, and travel down to see something like this. And hopefully you will. All right, from one version of art to another. Now we're going to be talking about interpretive physical dance, the art of dance. Now, Casper, you have this story as well about a local individual who's got some national recognition and had an opportunity on a national stage.
Yeah, another very cool story to hear about. Not a competition that I'd been aware of previously, so a very informative experience going through this and chasing this story down. But Emma Gale, a Neepawa resident here, and actually daughter of Amanda Nightingale, which people will likely be familiar with. She works with the Salvation Army. She's actually the ministries director there. But Emma had gone to the Canadian National Dance Competition in Winnipeg recently and did a number of solo performances as well as group performances with a group, members of which are also named in the story here on page 11. And it was a very unique experience for her. She secured some golds and some other awards. And it was actually her first time performing at something like this, Eoin. It was a very different experience for her, and something she said that she actually wouldn't have considered if not for her teacher from the Mecca Theater Camp. So it was a very awesome thing to hear that she got this encouragement to go and pursue something like this.
That is really nice. And again, very uplifting to be able to get that type of encouragement. And very encouraging for, I think, you out there to be able to hear about this story and be able to share in this story. Opportunities like this, stories like this, you're not going to get anywhere else except the Neepawa Banner Press. We were just talking today about the Brandon Sun. With all due respect to the Brandon Sun, I know a lot of good people there when I worked radio in Brandon, but they just did a story about the circus coming to Neepawa. That story is 2 weeks old, and it appeared in today's paper for the Brandon Sun. So just imagine how many weeks from now they're going to be talking about these stories. Most likely when they get their subscription to the Neepawa Banner Press, they'll cover those stories. So if you want local news, you got to go to your local paper, you got to go to your local TV station as well, NAC TV, and you've got to sort of support them any way you can. So let's move on right now. We got less than 10 minutes left, so we're going to have to go through a few of these very quickly. Casper, your story on the Neepawa Communities Ministry Center. They're going to be doing some public consultation, are they not?
Yes, and a very important one, in fact. Though I'm sure public consultations by nature are quite important to begin with, but for something like this specifically, definitely a big thing to have happening. They've seen a very increased need of the supports that they offer throughout the past few years, particularly in 2021 especially. And as a result, they're really wanting to reach out to the community and see what the need is, and if there's anything they can do to expand their services or make existing services better to better support people in the community. Because like food bank usage, I believe it was, had increased by like 60% from previous years, which is very, very big. And people that typically only use the Christmas hamper service are now, instead of just having that usage, that one point in time, are now more frequently at the food bank and using it on a regular basis. So they're holding that consultation on May 18th, and they're really hoping for everybody to come out and put out their input so that they can improve.
That's right. Not every local story in a local paper is always good news. Sometimes in a growing community, such as Neepawa, you are going to have to deal with small city problems. And this is a small city, large city type problem that is developing, and it's the reality. Inflation has just gone out of control this year, and it's any way you can help and sort of assist them in terms of tackling the problem. Hopefully you will. It's very important. All right, now let's talk about, we're sort of into the financials for the ministry. And now let's talk about the financials that are going to affect you directly. We talked about it in a previous episode of The Story Behind the Stories. The financial plan, the budget as it were, for the town of Neepawa. First reading was passed a few weeks ago, and now earlier this week, second and third reading have been passed. Because we did go in depth an episode ago, we're not going to sort of go through it again there. In essence, I'm just going to give you the quick Coles notes. Just under 17 million been allocated towards the general operating fund, about 8.8 million, a little less than that, towards the utilities operating fund. For the average person, it's going to be about a 1.57, if I remember off the top of my head, increase to your tax rate. But there's going to be a lot of improvements made. The reservoir, water and sewer, and roads. That's one that definitely caught my attention, was road improvements. One other thing, the boil water advisory that we told you about last week. They're scheduling it, and now they have officially scheduled it. It will be starting up on May 20th. A boil water advisory, likely take place for about 3 to 4 days. Again, when you hear that from the CBC or CTV, you get all up in arms. Oh no. This is an advisory as compared to a boil water order. An advisory is just the PSI pressure on the pumps goes down below a certain level. It's mandatory that they have to do this. All right? It doesn't mean there is anything in the water. It's a precautionary measure. Emphasis on the term precautionary. All right? So don't just collect a little bit of water on the 19th, pick up some bottled water, be prepared to boil water if you're doing any cooking or anything for about 3 or 4 days, and it's for a good thing. They're going to be doubling the capacity of water in Neepawa. This is good news ultimately, a little inconvenience for a couple days for something that's going to be very significant for years to come. All right, now we're going to close things off with just one little sports story here, an amalgamation of two here. You can find this on page 15. This was submitted to me, some information. Very appreciative that you submitted this to us. Neepawa will be represented at the Centennial Cup, the national championship for Junior A hockey. Now, it might not be the Neepawa Titans, but it is going to be Tyler Gibson of Neepawa. He's a 19-year-old defenseman, plays out of the Superior International Hockey League, plays for the Red Lake Miners. They won their league championship, which booked their place in the national championship. Essentially the champion of every single Junior A league across Canada this year will be competing. So that means as well, whoever wins between Steinbach and Dauphin guarantees their place in the national championship as well. So if you're looking for a team to root for in the national championship, the Centennial Cup, and you can't bring yourself to root for Dauphin or Steinbach, maybe root for Red Lake and root for a local kid who's doing well. Congratulations to Tyler, and congratulations as well. Another story on the sports page, Austin Mikulak, chasing down his dreams of Canada's national pastime, but not the national pastime you're probably thinking of. He is playing lacrosse this year with the Saskatchewan SWAT Lacrosse Club, based out of Saskatoon. What's interesting though, lacrosse, huge sport developing. They have a professional league, the National Lacrosse League, and there are players that have come out of the SWAT program who have been drafted by NLL teams. So hopefully this is the first step. Very much hoping to be able to speak about Austin's accomplishments for years to come. Congratulations to him and to Tyler. If you want to get a little bit more, because we barely touched the surface on these, you're going to have to pick up a copy of the Banner Press. You can do so anywhere in and around Neepawa. And if you have some story tips for us, we appreciate it as well. You can contact us at 476-3401. Or you can get in touch with us via email, news@neepawabanner.com. If it's a sports-related issue, maybe sports@neepawabanner.com. So we always appreciate those tips. That's how we got the Tyler Gibson information. Once again, thank you for sending that information our way. We're always trying to get everything we can, but sometimes things slip through our fingers. So that's why we need you to keep us in the loop on that. Once again, Casper, good to have you in this week. And God, we could have gone another half hour, honestly.
I think we probably could have done an hour-long show. But thank you for having me. And I honestly look forward to sitting in on another one.
You know, one of these weeks we got to coast. We'll just coast on our laurels, maybe. Well, okay, maybe not. All right. We keep saying that each and every week, but we never do it. And we appreciate you tuning into us here on NAC TV, watching the story behind the stories, and all the other programming right here on NAC TV. They're doing a similar job as to us. They're trying to cover local as best as possible, but they need your support, as always, to do it. So we appreciate NAC TV, and we appreciate you for taking a little bit of your time, spending it with us, and learning a little bit more about the stories behind the stories. Have yourself a good week.